Got it.
The second, just don't flash at my eyes. I can't. There. Okay. Jim, while we're getting ready for the meeting, since there's so many different handouts and everything, that I would have to be toggling back and forth to, would it be possible just to post them on?
They're on the website.
No, I mean, but during the meeting, that I want to be able to refer to them.
Yeah, it's
I will
gonna,
have to
it's gonna
click
take,
out of the the
it's gonna
Zoom.
take some time, but I can get them up.
Yeah.
Products of combustion,
Probably
toxic
that would be a
environments,
good thing for people to
gaseous,
see them
hazardous,
anyway. See the you know, the agenda and stuff like that. And I can have my agenda open, you know, and then still see people on the sidebar on my screen.
Hi,
Hi,
Sean.
guys.
How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Hey,
Busy
Sean,
day
how you
today.
doing?
Good evening.
Evening.
That's what's not right.
So I can't even see myself when I have the agenda open. I can't see the group. So in other words, I can't see like if anybody's raising their hand or something when I have the agenda up.
I can help you out with that if you need me to, Christina.
No, I know how, because I use Zoom like all the time at school. It's just on this
I mean, if you-
smaller computer.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't see it, I can say, oh, somebody's got their hand
Oh,
up.
yeah,
if you
yeah,
need-
yeah.
If you need
It's
me
just
to.
my smaller little computer at home isn't as high tech as the one at school. But thank you, Shauna.
Of course.
Can you turn that light this way? It's blinding me. Thanks. Thanks. Okay, it's about 3 minutes till 6. I see everybody on the board here, except for I don't see Tink yet. Let me know if I missed that.
Good evening. My name's John. I am with the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. Captain Niles asked me to be present for the meeting this evening.
Thank you for being here.
Of course. And I'll be quite honest with you guys, it's the first time I've used Zoom. So if all of a sudden you see lightning bolts and sparks, that's probably me.
Oh,
So we'll hopefully we'll get through this without error on my end,
thank you.
of course.
I'm sure it'll work out just fine.
Well, I hope so.
Kind of do it this way. Okay, like I can see now half of the group and the agenda at the same time, so. But just let me know, Jim, if you're gonna put the agenda up, and then I don't have to have my own agenda up for me to
Okay.
facilitate the meeting.
And if I put the agenda up, then I don't see anybody.
Okay, so I'll just facilitate seeing half of it, and then if you can see people, if they have their hands up, that'd be great. Okay, we have one more minute and then we'll get started. And Mr. Scalise, are you Deputy Scalise? Sergeant? Thank you. Thank you. Want to make sure I introduce you properly to the public.
Thank you. And you said my name correctly.
Oh, that's good. All right, it's 6 o'clock. We have the board members here, except for I can't see Tink. If somebody can see her and let me know, is she on? Because I can only see
Not
half
yet.
the people.
Not yet.
All right, we'll wait one more minute and then we'll call the roll. And then if she comes in late, then in the minutes, if we can just notice when she comes in and mark the time down for the minutes. Just in case. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start our meeting at 6:01 p.m. on February 16th, 2022. It's our Morongo Valley Community Services District Board of Directors meeting. It's our regular board meeting. And we thank you, everyone who's in the audience, for being here with us tonight. And we thank the board members for serving. And we thank Jim Breakbill, our chief, and for being on as well and helping us host the meeting through Zoom and facilitating it. Thank you very much for all your participation. So we're going to go ahead and start with the call to order. And Mr. Breakbill, would you please do the roll call?
All right. Director Jennifer Henning.
Here.
Director Shauna Johnson.
Here.
Director Johnny Tolbert.
Present.
Director Christina Gorky. Absent. And Director Vice President Christina Brook.
Here.
Four
Thank you.
present and one absent.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. And Ms. Johnson, would you be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Tink has now joined us.
Oh, and Tink has now
Abs-
joined us. Terrific.
And absolutely, I will.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Shauna. Appreciate it. Okay, now we're on section D of the agenda, which are public comments. The board of directors now takes time to consider your comments on items which are on the agenda. I'll recognize you at the appropriate time to assist in the orderly and timely conduct of the meeting. Anyone who would like to speak should tell us their name and their residence, and the comments are limited to 3 minutes. And if you wish to comment on an agenda item or a non-agenda item during this public comment, we have a form that you can fill out on our website, or you can just raise your hand in the Zoom app. And there's also going to be a 1-minute public comment period before each agenda item as well. So you don't need to feel like you have to speak now, but if you want to, you can. So like I said, I can only see half the screen, Mr. Bigbill. So if you can see if there's any hands up for people to speak. On my side
No,
there of the
I don't
screen, I
see-
do not see anyone.
I don't see any hands up.
Okay, then maybe people will comment before an agenda item. We'll do that as well. Okay, so item E on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. And so has everyone had a chance to take a look at this agenda?
Yes.
And if so, we need a motion to approve the regular board meeting of February 16th, unless there's any changes.
Madam Vice President,
Yes,
I believe, I think we should remove the awarding of the Osborne Award this evening. We have not made any announcements to have it looked into, to have take any nominations. I think we should remove it this time.
so go ahead and table it.
Yes, remove from tonight's agenda.
Okay, we'll remove it from the agenda tonight. And also with our deepest condolences to the Osborne family, to Janet and their family on the passing of Chuck. Thank you for reminding us about that, Johnny. Appreciate it. We'll take that off the agenda. Is there any other changes to the agenda? Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the February 16th, 2020 regular board meeting agenda?
I move we approve the agenda with the one change.
Okay,
I second it.
okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, we'll move forward then. Next on our agenda are our agency reports, and we're very fortunate tonight to have Sergeant Scalise with us from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department to give us a update about our area. And
good evening.
thank you very much for being with us.
Of course, good evening. So just a little background on myself. Like you said, Sergeant John Scalise with the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, been there for about 30 years. I've been with the Morongo Basin Station for the past 2 years. Captain Luke Niles asked me to attend the meeting this evening, and from here on out, I'll be your monthly representative. So I should become a familiar face going forward. Some of the notes that I have here, just some of the items that concern the Morongo Valley. Of course, we have Operation Hammer Strike that's still in full effect. That was the marijuana eradication program that Supervisor Rao and Sheriff Dykes implemented the middle to late part of last year. Just in the past week, they had, I'm just looking at my notes here, I believe three eradications in the Morongo Basin area. I have, let's see here, just last week, and this is a countywide total, approximately $14,600,000 in cannabis value was seized throughout the county for last week, bringing the entire total up to $417,950,000 in product that was seized. Cash that was seized is just a little over $2 million, which of course is going to go back into the general fund, which is going to ultimately benefit our communities. That program looks like it's going to continue at least through the middle part of this year, at which point it's going to be reassessed by the Sheriff's Department and the Board of Supervisors, and we'll see if it continues past that. But it's been a very successful program so far. Second item that I know that is of special interest to those in the Morongo Valley is the OHV patrol. I spoke with Captain Niles yesterday. He wanted me to ensure everyone that it's still a priority for us to provide OHV services and enforcement, not just in Morongo Valley, but throughout the entire region. Just so everyone knows that the state has changed the funding for OHV patrol, and unfortunately, I don't have a reason, although I know that it was cut significantly. We are still in the process of gaining and allocating more funding through the program. And even without the funding through the state, the captain has committed to provide OHV patrol in the area. Currently, we have, let's see, as a matter of fact, I just pulled up calls on off-road vehicle reports for the area. It was actually quite low over the last month, which is good. But with the weather changing, I can imagine the calls for service are going to go up. I just strongly suggest to those people who are having issues with it to continue to call the sheriff's department. And what we do within the department, as we get calls, it goes into a special file, and weekly our officers, they create a list of target enforcement areas. And once we get those lists compiled, we do the focused enforcement to include Morongo Valley. And lastly, the department in the county areas of Morongo Station, which does include Wonder Valley and the other associated areas, we had about 1,800 calls for service. Luckily for the Morongo area, is the priority 1 calls were very low in the Morongo Basin, which is great, meaning that you guys are taking care of yourselves and allows us to focus on some of the real problems outside the area. Of course, we still respond to the Morongo Basin. It's just that your priority 1 calls are really low, which is actually good for the community. And so that's really all I have. Do I have any questions from anyone that maybe I can answer anything or give clarification?
I have one question, sir.
Yes, sir.
I've noticed that we've had 2 truck fires that would take place in our district. My understanding is both of them have been confirmed as arson. Is there anything being looked into about that also?
What I know of those calls, and Chief Brakebill can correct me if I'm wrong. I know that our bombs arson investigators did respond and assisted with the investigation, or actually with both investigations. I know that the truck fire that had the gasoline cans and whatnot in the bed of the truck, that was definitely a suspected arson. In regards to suspect information, I don't have that available to me. I don't know that a suspect has been identified. I know that there was a statement by the victim that he believed it was arson due to the fact that his tools were in the truck. The second one, I don't have any information. I know there was a second one, but again, our investigators responded. We don't have any suspects identified at this time.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions of Sergeant Scalise?
Okay.
Okay, well, we really do appreciate you being the liaison now that will be at our board meetings. Thank you very much for your service. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much. I appreciate it. I look forward to getting to know everyone further.
Okay, terrific. All right, the next agenda item we have is our Director of Operations report from Chief James Brakebill. Jim, can you go ahead and give us your report?
Sure. So this month, we had our annual EMS inspection by ISMA, which is the Inland County's Emergency Medical Agency that oversees all EMS in the county of San Bernardino. We scored 100 out of 100 on their rubric. And so I was very, very pleased. So we're good for another year as an advanced life support providing agency. During the first windstorm, we had the roof blow off of the snack bar. And then the windstorm that we had yesterday caused some roof damage to the multi-purpose room. So Buddy is working with me and getting estimates from licensed contractors so we can get those repaired and back up in service. Our new brush engine that we ordered has been delayed now till April due to the supply chain. And so everything's being pushed back. They're unable to get a lot of the parts because of the trucking industry and the delays and the supply and COVID. So now we're looking at April to take delivery on the Type 3. I did use my contacts at the Office of Emergency Services and gave them my fire chief ID number. We qualify for a Type 6, which is a 2020 or newer, fully stocked with radios and everything, free of charge to the district, as long as we can staff it during wildland season, but we're free to use it to run calls off-road. Here it seats 5 people, so we don't have to tear up the big Type 1 engine when we go back into the backcountry on EMS calls. Let's see. I do want to create an employee recognition program. So I'm working with the union now. We're going to come up with a program where we can start having employee of the month, the quarter, and the year. I'm pleased to announce that we resolved all employee issues and grievances with staff and union personnel. So those are all done and behind us. Our fire and district equipment is now on a maintenance program that follows NFPA 1901 and 1911 guidelines. So all of our equipment will be serviced and ready to go. Let's see. We've had a lot of successful fire ad hoc committee meetings, and I know that our staff really enjoys talking with the ad hoc committee. That's all I'm going to say on that. I'll let the committee do their report. I did contact the previous director of operations and obtain all of his personal protective equipment, his badge, his ID card, and everything. So it's now all been returned to inventory. Our staff have submitted the Firehouse Subs Grant and the Safer Grant, and they've been completed and submitted, and we're waiting to see back what the results are. I'm also pleased to announce that we settled the vacation issue with one of the employees. And so that grievance has been resolved. The employee's been paid his vacation that was due to him. Our annual wildland fire training has begun. We'll begin training with the U.S. Forest Service. Chief Updike will be down here to teach our crew. And then we'll be training also. I've opened up the doors with CAL FIRE, so we'll be training with them. I did have a meeting with the 29 Palms Marine Corps base fire department, and they are more than willing to train with our guys. We can use their fire training grounds up there to hone in on the auto extrication and other skills. Let's see. We also updated our website. So now, as we have significant incidents that are in our community, they will be posted on the website along with press releases to the newspaper and the radio stations. And we also want to thank a lot of the community members for coming by and stopping in and bringing food and sitting down and visiting with the firefighters and just having coffee with them. That goes a long way. So the staff wanted me to reach out and say thank you for every one of the community members that have come by. And that's it. Oh, wait a minute. I still got the call volume. So on the fires, we've had 3. We had a structure fire and then the 2 vehicle fires. We had 38 calls for emergency medical services, 3 hazmat calls, 4 service calls, such as, helping people up out of the chair or fall victims. And we had 1 false alarm call. We had 2 good intent calls where we get there and we're no longer needed. So we had a total of 49 calls so far. So we have an increase in our call volume over last year as the traffic and the population continues to grow here in our community. And that's all I have to report to Morongo Valley Community Services District. Does anybody have any questions for me? All right, I am done, Director Brooke.
Thank you very much. What we do need to do is have somebody on the board move to accept and approve the Director of Operations report.
I'll move that we accept and approve the Director of Operations report.
Thank you, Shauna.
I'll
Wait a minute.
second.
Was that Ms. Henning?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Director Brooke, we've never done that in
Yes.
the past. We've never done that in the past. Why are we doing it tonight?
It says on the agenda, accept and approve. So that's what I'm doing, what it says on the agenda. We can change it next time and not have
Necessary, okay.
approve, but it says accept and approve. So that's what we're doing. So all those in favor of that motion? We have ayes. Do we have any abstentions? Do we have any nays? Okay, so the motion passes for that. And for next time, Ms. Chavez, can you note that we don't need to have and approve on that item for the agenda next time? It could just be accept.
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Okay, the next committee that we have is the Morongo Valley CSD Fire Department Funding Ad Hoc Committee. Director Gorky.
So just kind of following from last month's meeting, if someone's interested in taking over the committee for the time being or joining me, we can do that. Otherwise, I would make a motion to disband the committee.
So you haven't had interest from people in the community participating on it at this point?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone on our new board members who would be interested in serving on that ad hoc committee to keep it going? Some of the things that it might look at would be the possible, maybe in the future, kind of resurrecting the tax initiative, those kinds of things, or, you know, regular fundraising, grant opportunities, things like that. Does anybody have a desire to do that right now? Okay, so hearing no, well,
I
wait, Miss
actually have
Henning,
a,
or no, Miss Shauna.
well, I actually have a question. Would that also include the FFA, or is that separate? The
Firefighter
firefighter
Auxiliary,
yeah.
they're actually a freestanding nonprofit organization that's not under the umbrella of the Morongo Valley CSD, but we work in collaboration with them. So sometimes they put on
Okay.
fundraisers for us,
Dr.
but
Brooke,
they're not under our umbrella, in other words. But that's a
Dr.
good
Brooke?
question.
Dr. Brooke, I
So-
have a comment.
Yes, Director Tolbert.
Basically what you're talking about, with the fundraising and talking about possibly bringing back the tax is what we've been doing with the Community Relations Committee. So I see no
Oh,
reason
okay.
to keep going.
So, okay, cool. So you've moved the or expanded sort of the direction of that other committee.
Well,
So,
it was always trying to find out what the community felt about having a tax increase, trying to get community relations brought into it, bringing funding. So yes.
okay. So, Director Tolbert, are you suggesting that we can, you're and agreeing with Director Gorky that we can disband the one ad hoc committee, but maybe
Yeah.
expand the title of the Community Relations Committee to include funding as well in its name, or what are you
I
suggesting?
don't think we need to change the name of the committee. It's a committee for, it's a committee for community relations.
Okay, we
Community
don't need to put
relations is funding.
fundraising in there.
No.
All right. So, since I'm the vice president right now, and the vice president or the president has the prerogative to appoint ad hoc committees or terminate them when there's no longer needed, then I will go ahead and do that right now. And so, Ms. Chavez, you can go ahead and take that off on the next agenda. We won't need the Morongo Valley CSD Fire Department funding ad hoc committee anymore. And ad hoc committees, they usually stay around for a while you need them, and then they can come and go, as opposed to standing committees, which have a longer life to them. And standing committees are agendized and all that. So they follow the same procedures, Robert rules, and all that. All right, so moving on, we have, I know I saw Buddy Stogner here, and he has a Morongo Valley Sports League report.
Hi. So, yeah, everything's going good. The season starts March 12th is the first game, and it runs through April 23rd, and that's for adult softball. And
Hi.
we're also doing kickball as well
You
this
really
year.
have free N95s?
Excuse me?
Sorry, there might be somebody besides Buddy Stogner who has an open mic that might
Oh.
want to go ahead and turn that off.
They were just silenced.
Other than that, we're good. We have about 33 people so far now. The signups are over on Friday, so we're almost at 4 teams.
And that's the adult league, Buddy, that you were
yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, and then
Great.
we're gonna put the dates together for the youth, and we'll start signups probably like into March, into April for the youth.
Terrific.
They'll start right after the games. So, but
Okay.
that's all I have to report.
And just so you know, the spring break at school is going to be April 9th through the 16th. So that might be a good time to, if you need to coordinate anything with the
Well,
kids,
right,
because they won't be at school.
Yep, and we're gonna do the Easter hunt day thing down there again. So yeah, that'll fall right about in that time. Okay, cool.
Beautiful. That sounds
right.
great. Thank
Yep.
you for all that you do, Buddy, and Tammy as well.
Thank
Putting
you.
on community events and just keeping our community so wonderful so that Sergeant Scalise doesn't have a lot of calls for our
Right.
area, because we are really a wonderful community that works and plays together. So thank you
Yes.
very much, Buddy, for all you do.
Thank you. And then also real quick, I am working on a roofer for the snack shack, and now I guess the NPR room. The first
Oh,
guy
yes.
that came out, the first guy that came out, well, after I mentioned the fact, license part, he hasn't responded back. So we ain't gonna deal with him, but I have 2 more people coming out for bids that are licensed.
Okay,
So,
thank you for doing that with your connections that you have.
yep.
Thank you
And
very much.
guys,
And if anybody else has any roofing contractors that they want to submit their names for consideration so that Chief Breakbill can contact them and they can submit a bid too, that would be great. Appreciate it. Now, next is our Community Relations Committee with Director Tolbert and Director Gorky. Do you have a report tonight?
Go ahead.
Director Tolbert, do you want to summarize?
I was gonna let you do it.
Okay. We had a nice meeting. We coordinated this last event with an activity for the kids in the NPR room while we met in the Mesquite room. Review general topics. Pardon me, one moment. Come here. Okay. So the other thing that's in process is just planning some type of small event for the opening of the playground, which if anyone's driven by the park in the last 3 days, they have removed the old equipment and started working on that. Might do something on the later part of the day, March 11th, but that's still kind of to be determined, and we'll post and share that once we have those dates set.
Terrific. That sounds like a great event. That'll be wonderful to celebrate the new playground equipment that's going to be going in from the state grant that we got. So really nice. That'll be a real good facelift for the park, and it'll be nice and safe equipment for the children to play on. Okay. The next report is the Director of Operations Recruitment Ad Hoc Committee, Director Tolbert.
Okay. As I said last month, I currently have 13 applications. I would like another director to join me in this, but I also want to bring up the fact that looking at the director of operations, I brought up before, the government code does not cover that, so we're going to need to look into changing all that. We're going to need to look into going back to using the title of general manager, because that's what the government code requires of us.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have anything else to report?
Not at this time.
Okay, great. The Fire Services Ad Hoc Committee, that was me and Director Gorky. Director Gorky, do you want to report out, or would you like me to? I know that you have your child there, so I don't know if you just let me know.
Go for it.
Okay, I just heard her. So she's gonna be a future board member. So we had a really nice fire services ad hoc committee meeting. We talked about the SAFER grant that has gone in for consideration at the state. I want to thank every firefighter and management person that helped on that, and Miss Chavez, because that was a huge amount of work. And Director Gorky and I were in on the first planning meeting, and then I was able to volunteer my time and do a little bit of editing services for the grant for some things that I thought might make it a little bit more competitive. And I think it looked really great and when it all got done. And so thank you so much, because I know that was a lot of work that you all went through to put that together. And what that grant is about is basically helping us to retain firefighters and also to hire more different positions. If we do get the grant, there's requirements for a certain level of salary because it's coming through, state and federal sources. So that will have to be a consideration because, we already have fire personnel who are at a lower rate than what needs to happen. So any kind of money that we can save along the way so we can get all the employees up to the right level, which is what the SAFER grant's going to ask us to do, will be very important, because obviously we don't want to have people working at one layer of low wages and then higher wages based on the new grant. So that's something we need to look into. And we also have to look into sustaining the program after the funding sunsets. So that'll be something that we have to also work on. And we had to come up with some creative ideas on how we're going to sustain it, because that's a question in the grant application. So the committee meeting was really wonderful. And then we also did talk about the fact that the union is working on, or has agreed about the MOU in terms of being able to hire part-time personnel, because at one time we didn't have that in the MOU agreement. And then we got into talking about how well the department's running right now, how the morale's really high and up and everything. And we got to talking about, what will happen when we have to work on the director of operations recruitment and things like this. And at that point, the president and vice president of the union talked about a letter that they wanted to write and present at this meeting. And so at this point, I would like it if Mr. Chavez is here, or Jacob, to present their letter. And I don't know if Mr. Brakebill can put it up on the screen to share it. But that was a letter that went out to all of us board members via email. And if they have it, if not, if Mr. Chavez or Jacob, and I'm sorry, I don't remember Jacob's last name, but if they would like to present that letter, we could have that right now at the ad hoc committee.
Alrighty, so just gonna basically go over it. I'm not able to actually put it on the computer, but
I actually could if I had sharing capacity.
Yeah, I can give you
but-
sharing capacity.
Did you give it to me?
I'm gonna give it to you
Jen?
here as soon as I find your name.
Okay, because I have it on my desktop, I think.
Here we go.
Let's see. Okay. Let me see if I can get
Okay,
it
now you
for
can,
everybody.
now you can share.
Jim, it actually says, there we go. Now I can do it. Okay, I think this is it. Okay, I think there we go. So this is from the Morongo Valley Firefighters Union 5028 to the Board of Directors. And Mr. Chavez, would you like to read it?
alrighty. So we as Morongo Valley Professional Firefighters Union give our full endorsement to the current fire chief / director of operations, Jim Brakebill, and renewing his contract agreement for an additional 6 months. We feel this extension is going to be beneficial for the fire department with our MOU agreement coming up in July. However, the union is also willing to endorse on hiring Chief Jim Brakebill as the full-time general manager / fire chief. This endorsement is only valid if we continue to have an ad hoc fire committee or standing committee. This is so we can maintain proper accountability of the GM / fire chief position and to prevent history from repeating itself and continue to conserve on the budget. However, now that I was able to speak to LAFCO a little bit about this, it is very hard to hire a GM, or sorry, to have a GM and the fire chief position together, in the sense, if we were to say, go up to the commissioner, or sorry, not a commissioner, unless you guys vote in titles again. Give us 1 second, really quick. We have someone at our station. Okay, so that being said, as we do support our current fire chief, us as the firefighter union, we are fine with the decision that the board, that the board will make, whether it is to separate the position or keep it together. However, we did come to a understanding that if a problem is to present itself, it is a lot harder to go through the board and to get that problem solved if it was to say with the general manager / fire chief. But like I said, us at the fire department, our morale is good right now. We're happy with the way things are going, and we want to continue to see this, trying to think of the word, progress. There you go, progress that we're making. But like I said, us as the union, we're just happy that everything's starting to flow good. But like I said, we don't really have an opinion on this after being able to speak to LAFCO and having our union meeting, that whether we endorse the position or not, or it being joined or it not being joined.
Okay. Thank you for taking the time to write your endorsement letter and presenting it to us tonight. We appreciate that. So I'm going to unshare that, and you might still be able to see my agenda. Can you, or no? No, probably not. Okay. Ms. Gorky, you went out and then back into the meeting. Is there anything else that you wanted to add from the meeting we had?
I think I got most of it there. I'm just having a little bit of an issue with my phone connecting to Zoom right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sometimes that happens in our rural area where we live. Okay, so that's all we have to report off of that committee. We're now moving on to the consent calendar.
1 moment, please.
Oh, yes.
We never did address adding another board member to the recruitment ad hoc committee.
Oh, yeah, let's go back to that. Okay, so to the Director of Operations Recruitment Ad Hoc Committee, Director Tolbert serving on that committee. Is there anyone who would like to join him?
I would like to join him.
Okay, Director Henning would like to join you.
Sounds good. I'll get in touch with you so we can get to so we can start the meeting.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. The consent calendar. I know we have a LAFCO presentation. We have the audit to talk about. So I would like to suggest that we go ahead and do what the consent calendar says, that these are routine manners that we could approve by one motion, all three of these things. One is the minutes of the regular board meeting of January 19th. The other one is the minutes of the special board meeting of January 13th. By the way, those years need to be switched to 2022, but that's a common error when you flip over to a new calendar year. And then the cash disbursements and credit card purchases for January of $54,139.74 to approve those. Does
Dr.
anyone
Brooke?
have any changes to any of those minutes?
Director Brooke,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to remove the cash disbursement from the consent calendar, and going forward, I would like the finance report not to be in the consent calendar. over the last
Okay.
6 months to a year, we've had a lot of questions about our finances and we're not publishing enough information, what I'm being told. So I would like that to be removed.
Okay. Ms. Chavez, will you please put the cash checks disbursement on from now on under new business, please? And
Just put on the
limit our
report.
consent calendar to the minutes of past meetings
Yeah, I
at
can do
this
that.
point. Thank you very much. So do I have any changes to either of those board meetings for the minutes of those board meetings? Meeting minutes? Okay, hearing
move
none,
that
I would
we-
like to see if we have a motion to approve the consent calendar, which would be those two special board meeting and regular board meeting. We're going to take the cash disbursements as a new business item. Ms.
I
Johnson?
move that we, yes, I move that we accept those two items and
Okay, great. That'll be the regular board meeting, January 19th, special board meeting, January 13th. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second,
Second by Director Tolbert. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so then our first order of the new business, let's just take that real quick then. Financial Director Johnny Tolbert, will you please give us a report about the cash checks disbursements, credit card purchases? 54,139.74.
okay. For the month of January, for the month ending in January 31st, we did spend $54,139.74. Within that amount, we did have five, I would say, it would be outside our normal businesses. The first one would be dealing with our attorney fees for the month of were $11,937.50 due to the fact that in the month of December, unfortunately, we spent approximately 95 and a half hours with our attorney. And all the meetings he had to attend, all the letters he had to write. So looking forward, I'm quite sure we will not be, I hope we will not be dealing with our attorney in such a manner anymore. We only use them when absolutely necessary. Also, this time we had to pay for our annual invoices on our pumping trucks, have our pump inspection done. That was $1,690. We had to pay more to our Smith Marion for our audit to finish paying off for that for $7,380. We agreed previously to start doing a turnout rental. We made a payment for a 12-month rental for 8 turnouts for $6,896. And Patent Enterprises, we paid them $9,533.40 for repairs due on the bay door for the fire department. That came to a total of $39,360.90. If you subtract that from the $54,000, that only left us $14,202.84 in normal bills. So we're not spending a great deal on our normal bills. Unfortunately, we did have some rather high bills come in. Like I said, the garage, the bay door, the attorney. So limit the use of our attorney, and we'll also start using a lot less of our money. Finally, I will say that as of January 31st, we had in the bank a total of $628,554.50. As long as I am finance director, I will keep trying to inform the public exactly what we have. I will also start working on making sure everybody knows what we have for our reserve accounts also. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you very much. I need a motion to approve the cash checks disbursement credit card purchases for January 2022.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Ms. Henning seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed?
I,
Any abstentions? Okay, moving forward. We are now moving on to new business. We're very fortunate tonight to have representative from the LAFCO organization, which is the Local Area Formation Commission, that basically is the overseers of our sphere of influence as the Morongo Valley CSD. And I believe that I see Mike Turpie here with us, and I don't know if there's anybody else from LAFCO, but I'm going to hand the meeting over to him. And we really appreciate you being here tonight to give us the new board of directors and the old a presentation, and also the public. Thank you for being here.
Director Brooke, you might want to acknowledge Sam as the new executive director of LAFCO is also with us this evening.
Oh, Sam is also here. I couldn't see I only can see half my screen. So thank you very much for being here as well, and congratulations on your new position.
Well, thank you, Board Member Brooke. Good evening, board members and Morongo Valley community. I actually have been with LAFCO, as the executive director since 2018, but relatively new compared to the previous executive director who was there for years. So again, my name is Samuel Martinez. I am the executive officer for LAFCO. With me is Michael Turpie, who is our senior analyst at LAFCO. So first of all, thank you for inviting us to your meeting. The commission, when it accepted the special study report, asked us to reach out to the CSD, which we did, to present the study to the board as well as to the community. Some of you may have heard of LAFCO before. For others, this may be your first time. So for just the first few minutes, I'd like to just give you a brief background on LAFCO and who we are and what we do. Even though the name LAFCO, which is the acronym for Local Agency Formation Commission, may be viewed by some as an awkward and a confusing name for a governmental agency, the goals and purposes for LAFCO are simple. One, to encourage orderly growth, promote logical and orderly service boundaries for cities and special districts, discourage premature conversion of prime agricultural lands, and last but not least, promote efficient and effective service delivery for cities and special districts. So now we have the slides. The legislature created LAFCO in 1963. It is a state mandated agency, but it is actually considered a local agency. As you may or may not be aware, LAFCOs are funded, in the case for San Bernardino LAFCO, 1/3 by the county, 1/3 by the cities within the county, and 1/3 by the independent special districts within the county. LAFCOs do not receive any statewide funding. So each LAFCO is independent with local policies, and each LAFCO is independent of all other LAFCOs. As I said earlier, LAFCO is a local agency. It's not a statewide commission. And there is a LAFCO in every county in California, which is unique to California. Some states may have a boundary type commission, but most are statewide commissions or statewide agencies. LAFCO has jurisdiction over counties, cities, and both independent and dependent special districts. Independent districts include community services districts such as the Morongo Valley CSD, fire protection districts, municipal water districts, etc. And dependent districts are your CSAs, your county service areas, and your subsidiary districts. LAFCO does not have jurisdiction in a number of agencies, including JPAs and school districts and all the other ones that are identified on the slide. The general composition of LAFCO includes 2 representatives from the county, 2 from the cities throughout the county, and 2 from special districts. And there is 1 public member, and each one of those have an alternate. Other LAFCOs don't have special districts, so they only have the county and the city members. Others may have a special member, like Los Angeles LAFCO has a member specifically from the city of Los Angeles. So for San Bernardino LAFCO, there are a few members of the commission that you may be familiar with. Supervisor Rao is the alternate board of supervisor member of the commission. Rick Dennison from the town of Yucca Valley is also the alternate city member on the commission. And the regular public member is Jim Bagley from 29 Palms, who is also the chair of the commission. Commission has several roles. First, LAFCO has its regulatory function, creating a new city through incorporation or creating a new special district through formation must be reviewed and approved by LAFCO. Adding land to a city or a special district through annexation, or the opposite, removing land from a city or district through detachments, are also subject to LAFCO review. Commission also has a planning function, which is accomplished through its sphere of influence program. Many of you may be familiar with that. If you've heard of or read something about a sphere of influence related to an agency's boundary, that is solely a LAFCO function, LAFCO designation. The sphere of influence is defined as the probable future boundary of a city or a special district. And that determination is made by the commission. Lastly, the commission also has this function to prepare service reviews and special studies. The commission empowered by law to investigate the efficiency and effectiveness of cities and special districts, and through that study could propose changes of organization when it is appropriate. The service review process can also be done in conjunction with a sphere of influence update program and the function of preparing a special study, which is why we are here today. So sometime in December, the former director of operations notified LAFCO staff of some staffing challenges and the potential need to shut down the fire department. And then in the meantime, contract with County Fire. Staff also listened in on some of the meetings that month that showed that concerns were expressed by the committee and even board members. And LAFCO was concerned as well. And typically when you have an application come to LAFCO, it is always nice to have some background, some study that could support whatever changes of organization is being proposed to justify the action. Some of you may remember the commission prepared a number of studies in the past related to the CSD. There was a service review in 2012. There was a special study in 2015. And recently when we did the countywide fire service review in 2020, all of those documents identified some challenges with the Morongo Valley CSD. And because of the issues raised in December, LAFCO felt the need to prepare a special study. The special study, which is designed to be very narrow in scope, it's more of an educational guide for the community and for the district, so that the community, the CSD, together with staff and the board members, will have this information document that you can use as a basis for your discussion, so that the community as a whole can come up with, a better understanding, a better, better or proper solutions moving forward. There are no recommendations made on this special study. And I want to make that clear. There are no recommendations on that special study. Tonight, we're going to provide a summary of that study. The study is available on the LAFCO website, and I believe it is also available on the CSD's office. I'm not sure if it's in the CSD's website Then again, I just want to thank the board for allowing us to be part of your meeting. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Turpey.
Okay, everyone can hear me, right? So one person give a thumb up, good. Okay, so as Sam was saying, this is an educational document, so people may be aware that LAFCO does these things called a service review, and those service reviews have state mandated determinations. So LAFCO has to do certain things in a service review, and this is not a service review. So as Sam was saying, there's no recommendations, there's no positions, we're not telling anybody what to do. It's that when we were notified by the prior director of operations about the challenges going on in November and December, when we participated in your CSD meetings, you know, we attended and listened. So I shouldn't say participate, we attended. And it seems as if there was some lack of understanding fully of what a CSD can and can't do, hiring procedures, expectations of a fire agency. And, you know, these are things that I myself, when I first came in the government, I wasn't aware. It's kind of weird, but one day I looked up the Running Springs Fire Department's phone number, and I called it, and the person said, you know, Running Springs Water District. And I said, oh, sorry, got the wrong number, and I put it down. Then I called it back. Person said the same thing, and I said, well, you know, I'm calling the water district. I'm trying to call the fire department, but you're the water district. I said, oh no, we're also the fire department. So that was kind of like a weird eye opener for me, that a water district can have a fire department. And it makes sense now that when you look at the law, a water district law, they're meant for being a rural agency. So for rural agencies doing water, they already have the water. So fire function is a thing that they can do. Well, CSDs can do a variety of things. Actually, it's over 30 something odd functions. The three functions that your CSD is authorized by LAFCO. So LAFCO is the one that would then allow a special district to perform a function that's outlined in its parent act. And that is in the report that we wrote. As Sam mentioned, it's available on our website. So you can go to type in San Bernardino LAFCO. That'll bring you to our homepage. And on the homepage is the report ready for download in its entirety, and also a separate link just for the abstract, which is 2 pages. So if you don't want to read 19 pages, excellent. Click the other link, it says abstract. You can read the whole summary of it in 2 pages. It gives a little bit of the history of the CSD, the studies that LAFCO has done, and the challenges. So I want to come back to that CSD and its functions in just a moment. And if anybody ever needs a clarification, you can call our office number. It's on the website, but it's 909-388-0480. It's 909-388-0480, or just go to our homepage and get the number there. There's only a handful of us there. So if we're not there, also, you can just leave a message and we'll get back to you. And luckily, these days, the messages are digital. So we can find those out, even if it's closed hours or we're working remotely. So this is a true valley, and you are wholly responsible for the traffic that goes through, whether you like it or not. That's the same as all the rural communities, Yermo, Daggett, and Newberry. Those are your partners of CSDs. They are responsible for all that traffic between Barstow and heading up to Baker on the way to Vegas. They have the fire function as well. Excuse me. And you have that fire function and emergency medical services function. So if there's an accident, your CSD is responsible for responding to it. With that comes the expectation that you have to staff your trucks and et cetera, and et cetera. So you're not just responsible for your residents, it's your residents, business folk, and travelers. Our report, and I'm not going to go too much longer here. So the study that we wrote gives a little bit of history on section 2 on what is a CSD. As I was mentioning, a CSD can do a variety of functions. Your agency does fire protection, park and recreation, and street lighting. Also, with the CSD, you are allowed to have a little bit of leeway in your hiring practices. So there's a 5-member board, and that 5-member board hires a general manager. You have the fire function, and that fire function calls for a fire chief. The law does allow for a dual appointment. So your general manager can be a fire chief. And the word is can. Whether you choose to do so, that's your community's decision. But we're hoping that you get the proper information so that you can have a good discussion, with your family, friends, neighbors, and with your CSD board members on the direction for the CSD. Also, you are allowed to have a machination of oversight. So we were hearing that tonight. You can have an ad hoc committee. You could just have a fire director. So one director could be a fire director. You could have a committee. So there's flexibility in your oversight for fire protection. Section 4 of the report goes over the CSD's history. This is a good read on this part because it shows you how you're in the position that you're in. And section 5 is LAFCO studies. So Sam mentioned we did a study in 2012 and 2015 as well, and a fire service review for the countywide. And all our reviews have showed financial challenges for the district. So in 2001, your CSD transitioned from a volunteer staff to a mix of paid staff and reserve firefighters. In 2002, following approval of an assessment, so this is the fire assessment that your landowners pay, the CSD's fire function expanded to include advanced life support. That's what Chief Brakebill mentioned earlier about advanced life support. That's also known as paramedic. Now, here's the thing that not everyone knows. And it was an eye-opener when LAFCO did our fire service review in 2020. And this was some confusion and questions from the public on the CSD's meetings when we listened in. Although there are industry guidelines for fire protection and emergency medical, there are no mandatory federal or state regulations directing the level of service or response performance or outcomes. So response times, the type of engines and everything, or what your staffing needs to be, except for a fire chief, there is no mandate on what it is. And as for a fire chief, the fire chief is what the fire agency wants it to be. If a particular fire agency has very minimal expectations and qualifications for the position, that's what they seek and that's what they hire. A thriving municipality like Los Angeles will have different requirements, and that's what they will hire. So in the end, as I mentioned, there is no federal or state mandates for your level of protection or your hiring. It is a local policy decision, and the communities will have the level of fire protection that they can afford. Where you do get regulations is on the worker safety side. So there's OSHA and other things like that. So when you have a truck, you are now obligated to maintain the truck in a certain manner. When you have an employee, the employee has to work in a certain manner and have certain protections. But as for the level of service, I'll say it lastly, once again, there is no set level for your fire service. It's what you choose it to be. We did previous service reviews, and we have recommended in the past 3 things, and we want to reiterate them to today because they would only help your community. That the CSD seek local, state, and federal grants and funding to support your fire department and maintain your local control. Number 2, to advocate to Caltrans to decrease traffic speeds on the highway down to 40 miles an hour through the Morongo Valley. And number 3, to work with the CHP to increase law enforcement activities along the highway, including enforcing and any reduced traffic speeds. These recommendations are not new. They were initially not LAFCO's. We just reiterated them, but they were those of the county's community plan for your area. We have also identified historical financial challenges for your organization. the short-term viability and its organizational alternatives, and that there is a margin for error that is very slim in your CSD's budgeting. Nothing new here. It's just just a summary of what we've done before. So in our slide here and in the abstract, so if you just go to that abstract, we've identified 4 options. These are our position on what your options are. You may find another option. You may not like them, or you may like them. You can choose to take these if you will. They're just there for information. We have no recommendation on any of these. But you do see that some of these options, or most of these, require some type of additional funding. But again, we do not have a position on that. It does seem that due to your topography, because Yucca Valley is so far, that even if you were to go to county fire, it still takes time for county fire to come down that hill to get to you from Yucca Valley at the same cost. So one could say, whether you like it or not, if you go with this direction, you have a fire department. It represents your community. The name is there. It's a source of pride. And you either live within your means, or you pay slightly more for the service level that you desire. So that ends my part. Thank you for allowing us to present this information. And as we said, it just seemed to LAFCO staff when we tuned in that there was not all the information was there, and there's no expectation for people to understand fully or even be aware of all the levels of government out there and all the nuances. And LAFCO is a source of information. We've had all these studies since 2012, and we just compile the information we already had and just providing it to you as a resource, nothing more than that. So thank you, board, and thank you, Chief. Sam, that's it for me.
Well, we just want to again thank the board for allowing us to be part of your meeting and
Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate your expertise very much. We appreciate the wonderful collaborative relationship that we have had with LAFCO in being able to run our rural services on a very slim budget, like you mentioned. And so we always appreciate your expertise, that you can help coach us, help us refine things, help us keep our district moving. Because you're right, we do have a sense of community and pride in our and a name in our fire department. And many of our firefighters have gone on and had very stiff competitions at other city fire departments and have won or earned their positions at very large fire departments as a result of having such a wonderful rural experience. So we're very proud of our whole team. So thank you for being part of our collaborative team. We appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, Sam.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martinez, Mr. Sherpy. Feel free to stay and with the rest of our meeting. The next agenda item is the appointment of a new president and new vice president for ongoing facilitation of these meetings and so forth. So what we typically do is we typically take nominations from the floor, and then we make a motion. We see if the motion's seconded, and we see if it passes, and then we do it for the vice president as well. And we have had a financial director already appointed, and that's Director Tolbert, and that's not up for consideration tonight. But he has that position for our board. And so I just want to go ahead and open it up to the floor and see if anybody would like to make a nomination for the appointment of president of the Morongo Valley CSD.
I will nominate Director Gorky for board president.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Who seconded the motion?
I think both Shauna and I did.
Okay, simultaneous. Shauna and Ms. Johnson and Ms. Henning seconded the motion. Okay, all those in favor of the motion for that Johnny Tolbert made of Christina Gorky to be the president of the Morongo Valley CSD moving forward, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. President Gorky, you are now the president and you can continue the meeting at this time.
Yay. Okay, so do we need to change anything as far as vice president, or are we just gonna keep that with Christina Brooke? Does that change anything?
I would nominate Director Johnson to be vice president.
I'll second. All right, we can go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we now have Shauna Johnson as our vice president. And we'll move on. Okay. We have the report from Smith Marion, the final audit. Does anybody have any questions on the file that they received?
Good evening. I'm not sure if you wanted us to present the financial statements, if you'd like to see them on the screen. Typically, we give a quick summary of the audit, the financial statements for the board prior to their accepting.
Please go ahead with your presentation.
All right. Congratulations on your new positions. So my name is Kendra Dockham. I'm with Smith Marion Company. I'm joined here by with Eduardo Moro. He's an associate at our firm. Our firm has worked with the district for over 10 years, providing their audit services. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look over the audit report. What you'll see is your audit report contains our report, the independent auditor's report. We have expressed an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which means they're fairly stated, and there was no reason that we needed to modify our opinion on any of the account balances. The report also contains the management discussion and analysis. That takes up the first 8 pages of the document. Those are from the district and contain summarized financial information for the year ended June 30, 2021. After the MD&A, which is required by governmental accounting standards, we have the basic financial statements. The district's financial statements are reported on the government-wide basis, as well as the fund financial basis, in accordance with governmental auditing or accounting standards. So the first set of financial statements, the government-wide, they are on the accrual basis. They are the ones that are most familiar to most individuals who are accustomed to reviewing financial statements. And Ed is going to go over those for you.
All right. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. Thank you for having us. So yeah, as Kendra said, I'm going to go over a statement of net position for you guys. So I believe that's on page 3 of the report if you have it open with you. Page 3. So just jump right into it. So as of June 30th, 2021, the Morongo Valley Community Service District had $1,610,702 as its total assets. 45% of that coming from total cash and cash equivalents, which amounted to $728,929. And of that amount, $307,104 is considered restricted for parks and fire operations. So the other 41% of those assets coming from capital assets, and then 9% coming from certificates of deposit. So the second largest portion of the district assets would be the capital assets, which is such as land, buildings, apparatuses, machinery, or equipment, which was valued at $663,934, which is netted of depreciation. And then the total liabilities as of for June 30, 2021, which is what the entity owes, is $68,189, 90% of that coming from accounts payable. So the net position as of year end for Morongo Valley Community Service District was at $1,542,513. As I said earlier, $663,934 being its net investments in its capital assets. And then the 307 with $104 is what's restricted for its parks and fire operations, and the remaining balance of $571,475 being unrestricted for that. Does anybody have any questions for page 3? Okay, moving on to which would be
Shows up.
okay.
Got a toilet unclogged.
Oh, yay. On the toilet, put back on.
Bonnie, we can hear you.
Okay, moving on to page 4 of the report, which would be the statement of activities. So the district's governmental funds total revenue over the fiscal year were $1,212,835, of which tax and property assessments provided a combined $864,249. Total expenditures over the same period were $962,000 with $662, or $250,000 less than total revenue, which is also known as the change in net position. So the beginning of the net position start of the fiscal year was at $1,292,340. And the net position at close of the fiscal year increased by $250,173, which is good. So
One
that,
thing, oh, go ahead. I didn't.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
One thing to note on the statement of activities, it's organized so that the district can see exactly what revenues are coming from the services they provide and what revenues are coming from property taxes and assessments. And so what you'll see is on the right-hand side, when we compare the expenses of the district to its actual program revenues, we have a net loss of $619,681. So the majority of the budget that allows the district to operate is coming from the property taxes and assessment, some grants and contributions, which will hopefully increase with your efforts, and some interest income. Any questions? I tell everybody this is exciting stuff. If you're ever having a hard time falling asleep, pick up the financial statements, read those for a little while, and you'll sleep like a baby. The remaining financial statements for the district are on the governmental funds basis. So it's a modified accrual method. It states basically the same thing as your other financial statements. It excludes, though, any long-term debt, any long-term receivables. And at the bottom of page 5, what you'll see is there's a reconciliation to basically reflect the things that would be added back in from your statement of net position. Same thing for the statement of revenue, expenditures, and changes in fund balances on page 6. Again, it's going to leave out any receipts from long-term receivables, any of those long-term accruals, those will be added back in. So there's a reconciliation for this to match the statement of activities. The remainder of the document explains the district's accounting policies. It contains all of the required disclosures. It helps explain some of the items in the financial statements. Of significance is note 5. It is on page 13, I believe. There we go. That shows the detailed composition of the district's capital assets, the total amount of accumulated depreciation of those assets that result in the net capital asset value of $663,934. Your note disclosures also describe any future maturities on leases or debt. The district does not have any long-term debt with future maturities, and it only has one lease, and that is for land. Note 11 will alert the user of the financial statement to any contingencies that the district may have. The ones that are listed here are simply those of potential litigation, COVID-19 considerations, and then the commitment that the district had at year end for the purchase of a new vehicle. The remainder of the report has supplementary schedules. It will show you your budget to actual for the year on page 16, and the variances between the budget and our actual amounts. The final schedule on page 17 reflects the funds broken out by fire operations, parks and recreation, and streetlights, their related revenues and expenditures as of June 30, 2021, as well as the calculation of appropriation spending limit that the district performs annually. Any questions, concerns, comments?
I have one question, Kendra.
Yep.
Would you say at the end of the audit that we are still sitting in a strong position?
I would say, much as LAFCO's pointed out, the district has a very tight budget. The monies that it's been able to receive through Cal OES by providing additional fire services definitely helps supplement its budget. One of the positive items for the district is the fact that they have no significant long-term debt that they're required to pay off. And so if we were to look at a liquidity or a current ratio for the district, it is very healthy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does that conclude your presentation?
That concludes our presentation.
All right, then do I have a motion to accept the audit report?
Motion to accept.
Second?
I'll second it.
Before we take a vote, are we accepting the final audit to be published at this time? Is that part of the motion?
We just have it
Hopefully
for
it is.
accepting. Is it normally published after we've accepted it?
Typically, once the board accepts it, we send the management representation letter that is to be signed by the individual designated by the district. to accept responsibility for those financial statements. When it is signed and dated and we receive that, we will produce the final document for the district. I do believe the district has the option to either make it available or post it on their website. But I'm pretty sure Steve Kennedy could inform you of that.
Anything else? All right, we'll go ahead and take it to the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is that everyone? All right, looks like that was accepted. We'll move on to item 4. Retitle and recertify Director of Operations Agreement. It is recommended that the Board of Directors review, discuss, and approve recertifying and amending the interim Director of Operations Agreement. Christina, Brooke, did you have anything you wanted to share on this?
Sure. Thank you very much. I do. I've just been really impressed being on the Fire Services Ad Hoc Committee about how everything has really transitioned back to a strong rapport and strong services in our fire department since we went through our transition. And I really appreciate hearing from Mr. Martinez and Mr. Turpey that it is allowable and it can be that we have to have a general manager, but that it can be in combination with the fire chief, which is how we have it now, but we just happen to call it Director of Operations instead of like GM/fire chief. But having heard Mr. Turpey and Mr. Martinez, I do believe that we probably need to put the term general manager back in the title, and instead of calling it Director of Operations, meaning general manager/fire chief, that we would call it, we would recertify the title to be general manager/fire chief because it's allowable. And the reason why I believe this is, first of all, we have the support of the union. We've gone through a big transition recently. So I would like to try to stabilize things for a while. The union will be readdressing its MOU in July. And if we agree to change the title of the position to general manager/fire chief, then we meet the requirements that Mr. Turpey and Mr. Martinez were talking about, while being able to preserve our budget, which we just heard through the audit is a very tight budget. So, and if we were to split the positions apart and talk about that in 6 months from now, we can talk about that in 6 months from now. But I kind of wanted to just say, can we change the title to that so that we can get through these next 6 months for our transition? And can we just renew Mr. Breakbill's contract for the next 6 months so that that would provide some stability and get the union through its next period of when it needs to put its MOU in place? And then, oh, my battery is going low. I need to go get my cord out of here. And then any extra money that we would save by not having to hire a person above the fire chief, because if we had it separated, the general manager would not be lateral to the fire chief. The general manager would be the supervisor of the fire chief. So we would have to hire somebody. Right now, Chief Breakbill does not ask for any retirement funds. He does not ask for any insurance money from us. So we're able to save some money in not hiring another half-time position right now. And any money that we could save, I would recommend us looking at giving our current firefighters better salaries. And also I would ask that it be considered that our administrative assistance title at some other agenda be elevated to administrative coordinator, and that she also be considered for an increase. She's worked with us for 5 years and she's a fabulous administrative coordinator. And I think her position really has been assisting our what we used to call Director of Operations. But So that is where I am at. I appreciated the union giving their support to what we need to do. And one other point of matter is, it seems odd to me that we would have somebody over our fire chief, you know, completely separate, considering the fact that 90% of what we do, our sphere of influence, is fire protection and emergency medical services. And in the past, it hasn't really worked out that great when we've had general managers who did not have that background. It worked really well when we had a retired fire chief be the general manager because he understood fire operations, but it caused kind of, I would say, a waste of taxpayer money in some instances to have somebody over a fire chief that does not understand fire operations. And it was inefficient. And during Mr. Chirpy's report and Mr. Martinez's report, he talked about a study of efficiencies. And I feel like this is a much more efficient way to operate. And because we do have the oversight committee in place now as our ad hoc services committee, and the union is happy with that as well, I am going to ask that we recertify the director of operations position to be called general manager / fire chief, and that we renew Chief Breakbill's agreement for 6 months. And that's, I would like to put that as a motion on the table. And I'm sorry, but I have to go get my cord really quick before my my laptop gives out, but I was able to get everything out. It'll only take me a minute to get my cord.
I have many comments about that myself. Starting off with, should not even be talking about negotiating an MOU at this time. When it is time to start negotiating an MOU, we will put together a committee to negotiate that. Also, an ad hoc committee is a committee that comes to an end. Right now, you are trying to extend an ad hoc committee for how long? For what reason? I see no reason to extend an ad hoc committee. If we want to appoint a standing committee, then we should do that. But just to keep saying we have an ad hoc committee just to keep one or two people happy makes no sense to me whatsoever. Ad hoc committees are designed to end, not to run forever. If you want to turn it into a standing committee, that's something we can discuss. If we're going to have a standing committee, then we should bring in a fire commissioner. We need to make sure that we keep oversight. And I'm sorry, but I do not see oversight being an ad hoc committee. And as for looking at extending it for a 6-month period, I don't agree with that. We need to find out. We need to finalize what are we going to do. Are we going to have a general manager / fire chief? Are we going to have a general manager? Just keep it staying at 6 months just to have an ad hoc committee. I don't agree with it all. We need to finalize what we are going to do so we can get this district moving forward at a steady pace and get away from keeping interim this, interim that.
Jennifer or Shauna, do either of you have any comments?
I agree with Johnny and Christina. I know Chief Breakbill has done an amazing job getting us to where we need to be. I don't know what our plans are in hiring a general manager and how fast or what that process looks like and how quickly we can do that. But I do know that if we did have to have a fire chief and a general manager in one to save us some money, I think the guy that would be amazing would be Chief Breakbill. And that's my opinion.
I had no time would ever question Chief Breakbill. I think he's great. I know he's great, and I know that we're honored. We're lucky to have him here. I just feel that at this time we need to figure out what we are going to do to have a more permanent position. If we were to hire Chief Breakbill as a permanent position, I'd have no problem with that also. I know Chief Breakbill knows fire service better than anybody I've ever known. And I pray to God he stays with us for a very long time. I just feel that we should get away from all the interim titles and get something done on a permanent basis. Your question about hiring a general manager, if we were to start looking now, we're still 2 or 3 months out. We don't even have currently a job description for a general manager. So it's not something we're gonna make happen, you know, the next month or 2. We'll talk, that's still a 2, 3, 4 month process. We'd have to get a job description put together. We'd have to fly the position. We have to figure out how many people we're going to apply for that position. If and when, how many interviews we would be doing. There are quite a few steps to getting that done. Is I think we just need to figure out what we're going to do and which way we're going to head.
And Johnny, that's why I was, and I agree that we at some point need to have possibly a general manager so we don't run into the problems we've had in the past. But, and I know we want to get out of the interim stuff and get something in place to get some stability. But as far as the next 6 months goes, I agree with Christina that it's, I think Chief Brakebill would do an excellent job for us while we get everything we need to get together to get somebody hired or decide what we're going to be doing in the future.
The union actually suggested 6 months because that will give them enough time to get through their MOU process and get it implemented. And so that's why the number 6 months came up. And, you know, and if we need 2 to 4 months to do our process, and Chief Brakebill, he's a great commodity out there, and he could get hired away by somebody else if we don't offer him some kind of a contract to keep going with us. If somebody wants to amend my motion to say, let's hire him on a permanent basis, are you ready to do that tonight, Johnny? Because you didn't like the idea of having him interim, are you suggesting that you wanted to have him permanent?
I have no problem being a permanent fire chief. I'm not gonna say I have a problem with holding both positions at this time.
Okay, so you weren't saying that. Okay, I'm sorry, because I had to run out and get my cord really quick.
I haven't spoken with Chief Brakebill if he's willing to hold both positions for an extended period of time. But also one thing I cannot agree with at all is discussing anything about the MOU. They're saying we're going to place Chief Brakebill in place just for the MOU. We have to negotiate the MOU. That is not something that we're just going to say, okay, we're going to accept this offhand. That is something that when it is time for the MOU to be negotiated, we will have to put together a negotiating team to negotiate the MOU.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that, Johnny. I'm just suggesting that that's the time frame that they go through. Their time frames.
But we should not even be using the MOU as part of this or negotiating for the MOU as part of this decision. That is
okay. Well, it's what the union brought up. So I'm just telling you, because remember, Director Gorky and I are liaison to the union, and we're part of the oversight. And so I'm just telling you what they said during our ad hoc committee meeting.
Well, that is the problem. An ad hoc committee cannot be oversight.
No, we're not. And also, by the way, that we also talked about making it a standing committee as well.
Well, that is something the board would have to discuss.
Yeah, and we would have to discuss that. So right now, I have a motion on the table, and my motion on the table is that based on the report that we got tonight from LAFCO, that we probably do need to change the name of the position to be general manager / fire chief. And I'm making a motion to hire Chief Brakebill for a 6-month contract. And that is my motion. So do I have well, never mind, I'm not the president. I can't ask for a second.
So if I can.
This time I'll second that motion.
Okay. We'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor? Oh, go ahead.
Tink, quick question. Chris, this motion is to hire Chief Brakebill as the fire chief. Is that correct for the next 6 months?
No.
This is to extend the contract that he has currently running for 30 days. Before Johnny was going to second, I was interested in doing a 90-day contract until our regular meeting in May, so that we would have a couple of months to prepare a job description for a general manager so that we can start putting that out to see if we can find maybe a part-time general manager, and then see if there's some kind of continuation with Chief Brakebill as our fire chief and not functioning as both of those duties moving forward through 2022.
So
Second,
now
the motion
we
is
have to
give this
take the motion
leeway-
that's on the table.
Second, in the
motion
motion is give this
that
leeway for
is-
discussion.
Is to
That's-
fall in line with what Mr. Turpie said about we have to name general manager. So I'm saying general manager / fire chief. We used to call that the director of operations, the interim director of operations. But I'm saying to come in alignment with his presentation tonight, that we would call him general manager / fire chief. And we would hire him for a 6-month contract. That's my motion, and Johnny seconded it. So we have to vote on it. If it
No, we do
doesn't
not. Christine.
pass, then we can make a new motion.
No, we do not have to vote on it at this time because by seconding the motion, that gives us the leeway to do discussion. So right now we're having discussion before we take a vote. So we do
Yeah,
not
of
have
course, but we have a motion and a second. So eventually that motion and that second will be
Yes.
voted on.
Right now, we're in discussion.
Correct.
Either of you have any more questions? Sorry, I don't have everyone's screen up, so I can't see if you shook your head.
Jennifer brought up a question on how are we looking at making this fire chief / general manager this fire chief. I believe we're looking at doing fire chief / general manager because that's what the government code requires of us at this time. But we've brought up in the past and we've already discussed that. I think one more question we need to ask before you start taking a vote is, Chief Brakebill, are you willing to do this for another 6 months?
Yeah, I will do whatever our community asks me to do. I will stay as long as the community wants me to serve for them. Whether it's 1 month, 1 week, 5 months, 6 months. Okay,
100 years?
that's my commitment to this community.
Very much appreciated.
Yes, thank you.
No, thank you. I'm humbled that you even, that you're extending my contract. So I'm the one that's humbled.
It'd be another 100 years if I could.
So is everybody comfortable with starting a vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. So motion passes. We will be retitling and recertifying the Director of Operations position to be General Manager / Fire Chief for Mr. Brakebill through the next 6 months. And we'll move on to item 5. EF.
Madam President, one thing, please.
Yeah.
We need to make sure now going forward that we need to start going through all our SOPs and SOGs where they would change to Director of Operations. We need to get them back to the government code as General Manager. That is something we're going to have to start putting on our agenda going forward. I would say starting with next month.
And then also, could you put on the agenda for next time to talk about making the fire services committee into a standing committee instead of an ad hoc committee?
Okay. Okay, so item 5, EF recovery resolution and fee schedule action item recommendation. During the regular board meeting of January, the board of directors passed a motion to contract with EF recovery. It is recommended that the board of directors discuss and accept the EF recovery resolution and fee schedule. I reviewed the attached file in our email. Did anybody have any questions for Chief?
Look pretty straightforward to me.
Chief Brakebill, is there anything you wanted to share on that before we
Nope, it's just another alternative method of funding, especially when most of our resources or most of our calls, means more than 60% of them are using our resources from people that don't live in our community. And I don't think it's right for our hard-earned working people having to pay for other people's misconduct and using our resources.
I have a question for us. Do we have that resolution up on the website? I'm sorry, I've been in Idaho for a week, so I'm a little behind, but is there a way that the public can see that fee schedule and kind of get an understanding of what it is and what we're
Actually,
looking at?
Shauna, I was going to put it up on the website after the board approved it. That way the fees are everything's transparent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looks good to me.
Brittany has her hand up.
It's already on the website. So everything include all the supporting documents are on the website already.
Okay, thank you.
So is there an actual fee schedule though? From the form that I looked at, it was just the resolution explaining that we were going to start that. Was that the fee schedule listed as well?
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brittany.
There's two different resolutions. One resolution is accepting the EF recovery, and then another one is for the fee schedule. And at the end of that resolution, the fee schedule and another separate thing that Chief Brakebill had written is attached to it.
Okay.
Oh, I
You
see.
can do mine as attachment A for the resolution 2022-05. You should be in attachment A, and that show the entire fiscal year fee schedule, projected district, I should say, excuse me, as projected by San Bernardino County Fire.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, so Shauna, that's all attached on the agenda through the website.
Yes. Good. I have a copy. I just was wanting I wanted the community to be able to see that too. I think it's a great idea.
Do we have a motion for accepting the EF recovery resolution and fee schedule?
So moved.
No, well, slow down. First off, which resolution are we looking at, 2204 or 05? We didn't list them on the agenda as which one, because we have two resolutions we're looking at here.
Can we accept
Well,
both at the same time?
No, because we have to, remember, we have to publish the scope of the resolution. And they're two different resolutions, so we have to publish the scope. So what are we looking at? Chief Brakebill?
You're going to look at the first one. Attachment A is the list of the county fire service fees. And then attachment B is the fees that are unique and specific to Morongo Valley. So you see that when we go out and do our plan checks and our fire prevention services, we use the county fees. And then attachment B is the fees that are unique, like nuisance calls, people going around calling us up to pick up their remote control off the floor, or helping them get out of the shower, those kind of things. So there's two resolutions. The first one is to accept cost recovery. The second resolution is the fees that go along with the services that we provide for people that live out of the area, and in certain cases, people that live in the area. People that live in the area that have illegal pot farms that steal electricity and cause vegetation fires. People unlawfully using their drugs and they catch their house on fire. So some of it will apply to the citizens of Morongo, but they have to commit some kind of illegal activity to generate those fees. If it's strictly an accident and they're a taxpayer, there's no fee.
Okay, my only concern is right now I'm looking at two resolutions, which is fine, but we only have one resolution listed on the agenda. I don't think we can approve two separate resolutions without having them on the agenda.
Excuse me, Johnny, it does say the EF recovery resolution and fee schedule. I think that is to include both resolutions. 22.
That was the intent of the statement.
Okay, that was how I perceived it. So
What's the motion
Um,
on the table at this point?
We can't have one yet because we haven't published any scope of any resolution. We have to publish a scope of the resolution where we can make a motion to
But
approve
somebody
it.
made a motion, so I think it was the president.
Yeah, I
And I
just,
said, uh-huh.
I just read off of our item to accept the EF recovery resolution and fee schedule. So I'm looking at this as, I'm sorry, I'm on my device. Unless I've got the wrong form. I've got the memo for the resolution and then the resolution 2205 for schedule of fees that includes the full details. So is it just because they're separated into two files, or what are you looking at, Johnny?
I'm looking at resolution 2022-04 and a separate resolution of 2022-05. There are two separate resolutions that we have right now. So we would have to take a vote to pass both resolutions.
So
And my only concern is they're not both on the agenda.
So can the president amend her motion
To do what?
to accept both of those numbers that you just listed?
So my only question would be, is that so 2204 that Johnny's talking about is a resolution implementing the cost recovery program and for the various items, and then resolution 2205 is adopting the fee schedule.
Yes.
So it's two.
That's correct,
So Johnny,
Jennifer.
I'm with you. I'm almost thinking that we need to accept both of them separately.
We'll have to accept both of them separately because they're two separate resolutions. Because to accept the resolution, we have to publish the scope of the resolution first. So we have to
Okay.
accept them
So
separately.
I
We
think
can't
the
accept
president
them-
just needs to amend her motion then.
So do we have a motion for passing resolution 2204?
You could amend your motion, President Gorky.
I'm sorry, it's just, I don't see what the
You could just
difference.
say, I amend my motion to accept resolution 2204 and then take that one separately from 2205.
Okay, I amend my resolution or my motion to accept resolution 2204.
I'll second that.
Are we
All-
going to publish the scope of the resolution before we take a vote?
I'm sorry, what was that, Johnny?
Are we going to publish the scope of the resolution before we take the vote?
I mean, I don't feel like it's necessary at this point since we have all of the information provided to us. But if it's not gonna pass,
Chief Brakebill, do you have the capacity with your files to post it on the meeting?
Yeah, it's posted on our website along with the other information.
Okay,
So it is available to the public, and I have no problem if the public wants to come down and pick up a copy of it. Absolutely no problem there. But it is posted on the Community Services District website.
okay, so we have a motion and a second, right?
yes. Go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. Do we have a motion to accept resolution 2205, the fee schedule for EF recovery?
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item, SDRMA supplemental closing cost. recommendation. In September of 2021, the bay door was damaged. SDRMA has agreed to cover $13,436.58 of the repair. It is recommended that the Board of Directors discuss and approve accepting the settlement amount of $13,436.58. Mr. Breakbill, did you want to share any more about what you're
Yeah,
able to do for the
Yeah,
district?
I was able to talk with our SDRMA, and through some diligent negotiations, I got them to cover about 95% of the cost. So it's going to be like a couple $1,000s out of our pocket instead of the entire amount for the door. So they've sent the proposal. That's what I included in the board packet. So you can look at, and that includes, as I don't know if Gary said anything to the community, but the door was built in the early 1950s and they don't make the repair for it or anything like that. So we had it temporarily fixed because I didn't want our new apparatus being parked out on the street and being vulnerable for DUI drivers to hit or vandalism. So the garage door company fixed it temporarily so we can raise it up and down, move the apparatus in. And then we went out and got estimates. The lowest estimate was received. And then I got on the phone with SDRMA 2 or 3 times and finally got a hold of the supervisor and came up with their fee that they're going to pay, and the rest of it will be ours.
The only question I
So
have
we came out much
about it,
better.
Chief Brakebill, the only question I have about it is that if we accept the settlement, does that have anything to do with like a deductible, or will our rates increase or anything like that?
No, we have to pay $1,000 deductible. Okay, because that's what our policy says. And I don't know. I asked them about that and they said they couldn't answer it right away because again, they have to have adjusters and whatever internal controls they have to look at the claims the districts had. And then they can determine whether or not the insurance rates will go up. But to give me a figure right when I'm talking to them in a meeting, they couldn't do that. So I gave the guy my phone number and asked him to give me a call back when he got that information.
Director Brooke, it does show in the estimate that we have they're deducting the $1,000 deductible from it.
Yeah, I saw that, but I was just wondering if it's going to affect our premium at all now that we're going to accept a settlement. I don't know. That I was just curious about that mathematically.
I don't think we'll know that until probably July or August when they calculate our new bill for us.
So what we're being asked to do right now is accept the settlement, and there's kind of a piece of information that we don't know. So that's the only reason I'm bringing that up, to see if we're prepared to vote on it or not.
Well, the door needs to be replaced because sooner or later, we're going to get a 911 call. And if the door's not replaced, it's going to malfunction and we won't be able to respond to the call.
Yeah, so I guess we're just gonna have to hope that our premiums don't go up as a result of us accepting the settlement.
Well, I would think since we've already voted to approve to spend the money to do the door repairs, that by accepting a settlement from our insurance company, which we had instructed the previous previous director of operations and current general manager to contact our insurance company to see if they were going to cover any parts of it. I would like to say thank you to Chief Breakbill for getting them to cover any part of it whatsoever to begin with.
Just so you know, Christina, they were only going to cover 30% of it.
Yeah, I know. It's phenomenal what they're willing to do for us. I just didn't know if they go, oh, and by the way, next year your premium is going to be increased by 20,000 because we gave you a settlement. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to be thorough.
I would make the motion that we accept the insurance adjuster from David Morrison Associates and accept the payment from SDRMA towards the garage door being repaired.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna go ahead and abstain.
And Jennifer?
Aye.
The item passes. Last item we have is resolution AB 361 recertification. Excuse me.
Oh,
An action item. Recommendation during the regular board meeting.
Madam President, excuse me. Due to the fact that it is not a unanimous vote, we are required to take a roll call vote.
Okay. Chief, can you take a roll call vote?
I sure can. Okay, Director Jennifer Henning,
Yes.
Director Shauna Johnson,
Yes.
Director Christina Gort,
Yes.
Director Johnny Tober,
Aye.
and Director Christina Brook.
Abstain.
Okay, we have 4 yeas and 1 abstain. For the record.
Thank you. Item 7, continuing during the regular board meeting of January 19th, 2020, the board passed resolution 2202 to allow online meetings pursuant to AB 361. It was noted that for this resolution to remain valid, it would need to be reapproved every 30 days. It is recommended that the board of directors discuss and approve resolution 2203 recertifying remote board meetings under AB 361. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Do our 2 new directors understand what the assembly bill means?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Yes, I do. And I'm happy to do Zoom meetings, but I'm also happy to do in-person meetings if things are getting better.
I agree with Shauna.
So we haven't tested it in any way, but there is Wi-Fi service at the community center that we can connect to. My guess is if we were going to try to offer some type of a hybrid type access, it would be more than likely where directors would need to meet in person, but we might be able to live stream the meeting so that the community could step into attendance as well. We've obviously dropped down from the 100+ attendees to 22 currently. So the use of the room would probably be sufficient in having all of the attendees there, but the Wi-Fi is definitely an option to explore. We haven't done that, so I don't know how great the Wi-Fi is. I don't know if that would allow for public comments to come in that way, or if it would strictly just be so that the information is put out digitally.
well, the easiest way, after speaking with our interim IT person, is that the board members can bring their tablets or their computers and set up just like we're doing now, except you'd be in the boardroom, and then I can have my 2 loudspeakers so the audience, so you can hear the audience, and then we'd have the people in the audience as well. So instead of having to buy all this expensive recording equipment and everything and carrying it around like a news person, yeah, I would sit at the table and have my laptop, my camera on, and same with you. You'd have your tablet or whatever, and people at home, they can have a choice. They can come or they can listen.
I just have
First-
a little bit of feedback about that. For example, we had a training at school today. And if there are more than 1 laptop in the room, it starts causing feedback and you overhear and overlap sound. So we all had to go into different areas of the building. We couldn't be together to do that. So I don't know. I feel like maybe we should just recertify this thing one more month and do some road testing of it to see if it will actually even work. Like if we even have connectivity down there.
I'm gonna check that out. just because we vote to accept it doesn't mean we have to do online.
Right,
It's just that
exactly.
if for some reason the Wi-Fi doesn't work, you've already adopted this assembly bill for one more time. But the way to
Yeah.
get around the feedback, Christina, is we use the headsets or the little earplugs. So you're
Mhm.
not getting feedback over the
Yeah.
loudspeakers.
Because we don't have that technology at school for us all to have those sophisticated headsets and stuff. So it feedbacks, and so we have to go look for places where we can all spread out. And then we're not really even in the same room together. You know what I mean? I don't know. But so I would just make a motion to go ahead and recertify again until to the point we can road test how our connectivity works down there, how this headset thing works, if we have headsets and tablets that we can bring, down there. And or could a board member still just be zooming at their house if they want and not go down to the park? I mean, we haven't really talked about that option either.
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is let's get the connectivity. Okay, because the more, remember the bandwidth and the more computers and stuff you have hooked onto it, the slower it might go. So it all depends on the type of connectivity you have down there, the type of router you have down there. And to be honest with you, that was kind of lower on the totem pole of things for me to get squared away. So that's one of the things now that we're redoing the communication systems in the office. We can definitely look into that, and then I can report back to the board. I know when Tink and myself and Brittany were down at the park, none of us could get on the connectivity down there. I mean, it was showing it was there, but it wasn't allowing anybody to connect. So I'm going to check into that and get back to you.
We have a lot of people on the chat who are saying they like the Zoom too. And there's firefighters that are saying that they like it because sometimes they're out of town.
Right.
So just a heads up with that though, as far as the resolution goes moving forward, I mean, we have to see what happens next month, but if the state of emergency expires next month as scheduled, it'll go away. Any virtual or Zoom option is going to be more kind of a supplement add-on to the meetings. We'll be returning to in-person. Is there a second for Christina's motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tink, do you still want me to address the connectivity down there and just get it
Yeah,
so it's up and running?
I think what's going to happen, like I said, I mean, it's supposedly the state of emergency is going to end next month, which I feel like this is going to go with that. And I think it would be nice to have the option for the public to have some kind of connection, even if it's not each individual board member having their device running, but just something where we can live stream it or have some kind of virtual connection for the public.
Okay, then I will go ahead and get back to the community and the board on what we find out with the Wi-Fi connectivity down there.
Thank you. All right, so we are tabling item number 8. Item number 9 is just an informational reminder to the directors that the Form 700s are due at the end of this month. And Brittany will be, I'm sure, very happy to receive that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to individual director. Ms. Brooke?
Did you say Miss Brooke?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear with the call going out. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming to the meeting tonight and all the good information that we got. Thank you for allowing me to serve as the vice president for, I don't know how many years it's been, but thank you very much for that opportunity. I've met so many wonderful people along the way and have received so many different and great trainings along the way. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everything that the firefighting team is doing. Not only their calls for EMS and fire, because we've had a lot of those emergencies lately, but also their coming together to help put these grant proposals together, which is a lot of work, and I really appreciate that. And also Ms. Chavez's time on that too. She did a fabulous job. There are a lot of great comments right now that are going in the chat in terms of helping us with this connectivity issue about routers and this and that. So if Mr. Brakebill wanted to, he could copy the chat before the meeting ends, because there's a lot of really good technologically sound advice going on the
It
chat.
stays with the recordings when they're posted.
Okay, super. Because Mr. Rosenberg, I just noticed your feedback. We really appreciate that. So I think that's all I have to say tonight. So thank you very much. It's always a pleasure, and look forward to working with you to kind of transfer the knowledge. I've done a lot of transfer of knowledge workshops, and I've been here for almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in December. So I look forward to working with my past colleague, Shauna Johnson. She and I served on a board at the school together, and she has a wonderful business in town. And thank you, Shauna, for the awards that you gave to our school. I know it's a little off topic from CSD, but thank you very much for supporting the school in the way that you do. And I look forward to getting to know Jennifer and her work that she does down in Palm Springs for the city down there. Tink, I wish you all the best of luck leading the board. And I will continue to serve on the committees and be with you guys, God willing, through December when the next person comes in. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brooke. Director Tolbert.
Thank you. First and foremost, as always, thank you to the men and women of Morongo Valley Fire Department. The work I'm an active 911. I saw you guys were extremely busy today. Over the last week, you've had a lot of calls, so thank you very much for your hard work and diligence for our district. Chief Brakebill, thank you very much for getting our fire department back up and running, fully staffed and working very hard. Brittany Chavez, thank you for all the hard work and everything you've put in for us lately. And in the past, going forward, we hope to keep you here as long as possible. Also, last month, there was a few questions asked about if we were going to attempt to incorporate the district. I did reach out to Mr. Michael Turpey from LAFCO on that issue. He informed me that it takes a minimum of a 10,000 population for us to begin incorporation. Also, unfortunately, the district's territory does not qualify for incorporation. So my understanding is we don't have enough population, and we do not have enough territory at this time to qualify for incorporation. So I just wanted to get that passed back to the public also. I look forward to working with our new board members going forward. You had a good meeting. Let's keep it going. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Johnny. Director Johnson.
Thank you. I just wanted to say again, thank you to Chief Brakebill. Your leadership is greatly appreciated. Christina, I look forward to working with you and of course the other board members, but I will be leaning on you a little bit for some advice and some help with this position. So I just appreciate y'all and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. Director Henning.
Yes, I just want to congratulate you, Director Gorky, on Madam President, and you, Shauna, for Vice President. Congratulations. And just to echo Shauna's sentiments, I look forward to working with all of you and also leaning on all of you sitting incumbents to help guide me and teach me everything it is out there that we need to know to continue making this community great. And thank you, Chief Brakebill, for all the work you're doing. We're so lucky to have you. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Jennifer. Closing everything up. pretty much what everyone else said. Thank you so much for the work that Mr. Breakbill is doing for our district. I appreciate everyone that's stepped up and gotten involved recently, and I hope to see a lot more great things as we continue through 2020. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
We might want to say, keep going through 2022, Madam President, not
Oh, yeah.
2020.
We're in a whole I still have a lack of sleep going on though.
I'm sure she keeps you going. And you might want to announce that our next regular meeting is scheduled for March 16th, 2022.
Yep. Next regular board meeting, March 16th, 2022, 6 p.m. And at this point, we will be on Zoom again.
At this time, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Have a great night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for
Good
joining us.
night.
Good night.